Nanda sat down for a little rest at the center of the temple chamber, her gaze fixed on the third pillar. The silence after completing the trial of the present was unsettling. She had already faced the past, confronting and redefining her memories, and the present, where she had found balance between peace and chaos. But the future, now that was different. It had always been a source of uncertainty for her, a place both alluring and elusive. "Well," she murmured, eyes narrowing at the pillar, "we've come this far. Might as well finish this trilogy." Her sass, always her go-to to calm nerves, felt a little out of place in this temple filled with ancient forces. Still, she puffed out in pride and determination. She was a cat of wit and resilience, even if the universe didn't appreciate the humor. The pillar before her glowed with an eerie blue light, casting strange shadows across the room. Its swirling spiral seemed alive, shifting in a way that the future itself couldn't decide what it was meant to be. A fitting symbol, Nanda thought. The future was fluid, ever-changing. "Nothing like an existential crisis before tea time," she muttered, taking a deep breath, more out of habit than necessity. Her sharp eyes studied the swirling spiral again. "Let's get this over with." Confidently, Nanda padded forward, her white paws silent. Despite her composed exterior, her mind raced. The past and present had been straightforward, but the future? It was like chasing something invisible, always tantalizing, always just out of reach. It wasn't failure she feared. It was the unknown, the uncertainty of endless possibilities. With a flick of annoyance, Nanda reached out and touched the glowing pillar. In an instant, the world erupted into blinding light. It engulfed her, leaving no room for escape. Nanda closed her eyes, not out of fear, but to regain control over her senses. Whatever the universe had in store, she'd face it as she always had. The ground beneath her paws vanished, and she was suspended in a weightless void, surrounded by the deafening rush of wind. Time seemed to propel her forward, faster and faster, and then everything stopped. Nanda opened her eyes to find herself in a desolate, alien landscape. The desert before her was cold, its sand metallic, its sky a deep, unnatural blue. No stars, no moon, just a barren, lifeless world. "Of course, the universe couldn't give me a nice field with grass," Nanda grumbled. "No, it had to be a bleak, futuristic wasteland." A cold wind swept past her, carrying a faint, distant whisper, like voices calling her name. "Nanda, Nanda, beware." Nanda flicked her ears. "Haunted too? Just what I needed," she muttered, scanning the horizon. There, on the edge of the desert, stood a figure. It was unmoving, watching. "Well, that's not ominous at all." She padded forward, the cold sand sinking under her paws. The figure didn't stir, but she felt its gaze on her. As she drew nearer, the figure became clearer, though it was no ordinary form. It shimmered, shifting like mist in the wind. Its face was a vortex of light and shadow, humanoid yet far beyond her understanding. Nanda stopped a few paces away, sitting back as if she had all the time in the world. "Well, hello there," she said casually. "I don't suppose you're here to offer me a cup of milk and a nap?" The figure's face remained unreadable, though Nanda imagined it wasn't much for banter. "Welcome, Nanda," it said, its voice timeless and neither male nor female. "You have come to face your future." "Really? You have come to face your future? Bit on the nose, don't you think?" Nanda's dry humor went unacknowledged as the figure raised its hand. The desert around them began to shift. The metallic sand swirled, and flickering images materialized in the air. These weren't illusions, they were potential futures. Nanda curiously watched the first vision unfold. She stood in a towering city, the scarab glowing brightly around her neck. People knelt before her, faces filled with awe. She was no longer a small, unnoticed cat. She was a powerful guide, wielding the power of time. But her eyes were cold, detached. The cost of power was clear. She was alone. "Great," Nanda muttered. "Queen of time and isolation. Just what I've always wanted." The next vision appeared. In this one, Nanda wandered through a broken world. The scarab was still around her neck, but its power had waned. She was searching, but only found echoes of the past. In this future, she had failed, and the world had collapsed. Lovely, Nanda said, voice dry. Cat of the apocalypse. I do hope the snackets are good in that one. More futures unfolded, each one more fragmented than the last. Some showed her as a hero, others as a villain, and some where she simply faded into nothingness. Her efforts amounted to little. The figure spoke again, its voice heavy with inevitability. These are the futures that lie before you, Nanda. Each choice, each decision, shapes the path you will walk. But the question remains, who do you wish to become? Nanda studied the visions, her sharp mind processing the images before her. These weren't just possible futures. They were reflections of her fears and desires, power, failure, loneliness. Each path tempted her in different ways, but none of them felt right. What's with all the doom and gloom? Nanda asked, her eyes narrowing. Surely there's a future where I get a quiet life, a warm fireplace, and some decent fish? The figure's form darkened slightly, crackling with energy. The future is not about safety, Nanda. It is about choices. Each path requires sacrifice. What are you willing to give up? Nanda let out a soft sigh, flattening her ears slightly. Oh, I don't know. How about my patience for cryptic nonsense? But in that moment, she understood. This trial wasn't about choosing a future, it was about choosing who she wanted to be. The future was fluid, and though she couldn't control every outcome, she could control herself. She could face the unknown with courage and wit, just as she always had. Nanda stood, her green eyes locked on the figure. I don't need to see the future. I just need to know that whatever comes, I'll handle it. That's what I choose. The figure was silent for a long moment. Then, it nodded slowly. You have chosen wisely, Nanda. The air around her began to hum with a low vibration, and the swirling sands quieted in response. The figure remained still, its swirling face softening into something less sinister, more understanding. It slowly lowered its outstretched hand, the images of potential futures fading into the metallic sand at their feet. Very well, Nanda, the figure said, its voice now almost gentle. The future may remain uncertain, but you have shown understanding. Strength does not come from knowing what is to come, but from embracing what will be, whatever form it takes. Nanda didn't flinch or puff herself up in pride. The cosmic being act didn't impress her, but she had to admit there was something comforting in hearing her choice validated. Still, she wasn't about to show it. Glad we cleared that up, she said dryly, flicking her tail as she turned away. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got a sunspot waiting for me. Before the figure could respond, the metallic sands beneath Nanda's paws shifted. As if alive, swallowing the desert whole, the world dissolved around her again, this time gently, like the universe was helping her along. Nanda blinked once, twice, and then she was back in the temple chamber. The air felt heavier with silence, but the tension had broken. The swirling spiral on the third pillar had dimmed, the blue light now faint, as though satisfied with the conclusion of her trial. The other two pillars stood tall, darkened, their challenges behind her. Nanda stretched, feeling the cool stone beneath her paws. She felt lighter, not just in body, but in spirit. The future wasn't something to fear, it was something to shape. Not bad for a day's work, she muttered, surveying the quiet temple. Though, I was expecting a bit more fanfare for finishing all 3 trials. Maybe a parade? Her joke echoed off the empty walls, but Nanda didn't mind. She was her own best audience. Just as she was about to settle into her usual indifference, a soft sound came from the entrance. Nanda turned, eyes narrowing. A figure stood at the doorway, watching her. As the dust from the trials of time settled, Nanda's gaze moved across the temple. Still buzzing with the remnants of the powerful magic, amid the shifting light, a familiar figure stepped forward, Veruschka. Something had changed in her, however. Veruschka had always been tall and commanding, her presence unmistakable. Her once tied-back dark hair now cascaded in waves, catching the light. Her modest clothing had been replaced with robes of violet and gold, intricate patterns woven into the fabric. Veruschka's face looked younger, her eyes sharp with wisdom but radiating renewed energy, as though the temple had given her new life. Nanda blinked, momentarily stunned. Though Veruschka had always carried an air of mystery, this transformation was something else. An ascension, perhaps, or a revelation of her true form. Veruschka? Nanda asked, voice laced with curiosity as she approached cautiously. What happened to you? Veruschka smiled, serene, but knowing. Not quite what you expected, I take it. Her voice, once authoritative, now resonated with a divine quality, as if the temple's power flowed through her. I wasn't expecting this. No, Nanda admitted, circling her. You always had the powerful guardian vibe, but now it's like you're straight out of a legend. Veruschka chuckled softly, the sound echoing through the temple. In a way, I am. When we first met, I appeared as a servant to protect myself and the temple from those who might abuse its power. But now that you've passed the trials of time, the enchantment masking my true form has been lifted. So, this is the real you? Nanda asked, eyes gleaming. All this time you've been hiding your divine glow? Something like that, Veruschka replied with a graceful nod. You were always meant to see this side of me, when the time was right. You've proven yourself, and now the next part of your journey begins. Nanda's gaze lingered on Veruschka, still absorbing the shift in her appearance. Well, I've got to say, you wear the whole ancient goddess guardian thing well. Veruschka smiled again, warmth softening her features. Flattery, Nanda? I didn't think you had it in you. Nanda grinned back, her sharp wit intact. Hey, I've been through a lot. Maybe I'm getting sentimental. Then I suppose we'll both be a little sentimental, Veruschka replied, her tone gentle. But we can't linger here for long. There's more at stake than either of us imagined. Determination settled in Nanda. Lead the way, Veruschka. I'm ready for whatever comes next. Veruschka hesitated for a moment before adding, You faced those trials with such bravery. I underestimated you, Nanda. Nanda smirked. Underestimating me? Not wise. I always deliver, especially when the stakes are high. Veruschka's lips twitched, a hint of a smile. I'm just glad you made it through. I knew you had it in you. Nanda stretched lazily, her muscles rippling beneath her onyx coat. Well, now that we're done with the sentiment, let's get back to business. We still have a world to save, don't we? Veruschka nodded, her expression turning serious. Yes, there's something troubling in the air. The energy of the land has shifted since the trials began. It's as if a darkness is creeping in. Nanda raised an eyebrow. Darkness? Like some kind of curse or imbalance? Yes, Veruschka confirmed, her voice steady. The balance of our world feels disrupted. I fear it's the result of the energy released during the trials. Nanda frowned, piecing it together. So it's a ripple effect? Our actions have consequences beyond what we can see? Exactly, Veruschka said. The trials tested our strength, but they also released forces we may not fully understand. We need to investigate. If we don't address this imbalance, it could lead to chaos worse than anything we've just experienced. Nanda's heart raced. Then let's find out what's happening. I refuse to let this destroy everything we've fought for. Veruschka nodded, respect in his eyes. I admire your resolve. We should head to the Temple of the Ancients. It may hold the answers we seek. If we uncover the source of this imbalance, we can set things right. Lead the way, Nanda said, her spirit ignited. I'm ready to face whatever lies ahead. They moved through the dense forest, shadows clinging to them as the air thickened with tension. Each step felt heavier, as if the weight of the world pressed on their shoulders. Suddenly, a deep growl echoed through the trees, causing Nanda to freeze. What was that? Stay close, Veruschka whispered, ears pricked. We're not alone. Nanda's heart raced, and she tightened her stance. I've faced worse. Let them come. Before she could react, a hulking creature exploded from the shadows, an unnerving blend of primal power and eerie otherworldliness. Its eyes glowed with an unnatural light, as if flames from a distant realm burned within them. Ragged, matted fur clung to its frame, streaked with mud and brambles from centuries spent in darkness. Its elongated limbs ended in claws like obsidian shards, sharp and menacing. Nanda sprang into action, claws extended, a fierce snarl escaping her lips. Focus, Nanda, Veruschka shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. We have to subdue it without causing further disruption. Nanda nodded, channeling her instincts. I can do this. She dodged the creature's powerful strike, using its momentum against it. With a swift motion, she darted around its side, aiming to bring it down without harm. As the creature staggered, Veruschka began to chant softly, her words flowing like a hidden river, weaving a protective barrier. The beast paused, its flickering gaze softened by confusion. "We need to calm it," Veruschka urged. "Help me." Nanda quickly stepped up to the plate. Together, their voices blended in a harmonious incantation, sending waves of soothing energy toward the creature. Gradually, its growls quieted, and the tension in its muscles eased as it yielded to their calming influence. "Good," Nanda whispered, breathless but determined. "We can go now." Go they did. Each step took them deeper into the forest, closer to the temple that held the answers they sought, and perhaps the key to restoration. After an hour or so of complete silence, Nanda turned to her partner in time. "Now that I've passed the trials, I can use the scarab to fix the damage. But first we need to understand exactly what we're dealing with." Veruschka frowned, confused. "What do you mean? I thought we knew the imbalance is a result of the trials." "Exactly," Nanda said, her tone casual, though sharp intensity lingered in her gaze. "But we need to know how the trials created this ripple effect. Each challenge we faced may have disrupted the balance in ways we don't fully understand." She met Veruschka's eyes. "We need to figure out what this means for us, and how to restore what was lost." Veruschka swallowed hard, the weight of the situation settling in. "So, what do we do now?" Nanda's tail flicked thoughtfully, a spark of resolve igniting. "First, we need answers. I need to find out what Shempu is up to. He's been suspiciously quiet lately." Veruschka's brow furrowed with concern. "But after everything that happened, do you really think he's involved again?" "Let's just say I have a feeling," Nanda replied, her expression serious. "There's more to this than meets the eye, and we can't afford to ignore it." Veruschka nodded, her worry clear. "Then what's our next move?" Nanda's resolve solidified. "We gather our allies and find a way to reach him. We'll need all the help we can get." She turned toward the exit of the temple without waiting for further discussion, her confidence unmistakable. As they stepped into the open air, Veruschka quickened her pace to match Nanda's, her eyes following the small cat leading the way. Nanda was unlike anyone she had ever known, of any species, wise beyond her years, unflinchingly brave, and with a sharp tongue that kept her on edge. With each step they took, Veruschka felt conflicting emotions. She wasn't sure what lay ahead, but with Nanda by her side, she had a sense that maybe, just maybe, they stood a chance. They moved through the dense forest world with the uncertainty of the trials ahead. "We have to reach the Temple of Shadows quickly," she said, her voice steady yet urgent. "The answers we need may be there, but we must be prepared for whatever we find." Veruschka's heart raced. "Right. What do you think we'll discover?" "Truths," Nanda answered, her eyes hardening with resolve. "But they might come with a price." They pressed on, winding their way through the towering trees, their branches forming a canopy above that dappled the forest floor with sunlight. As they walked, Nanda glanced back at Veruschka, appreciating the quiet strength her companion provided. It was a reminder that they faced the challenges ahead together. After what felt like hours of navigating the twisting paths, they finally broke through the underbrush and arrived at the latest temple. The ancient structure loomed before them, its dark stones stark against the vibrant greenery surrounding it. Nanda paused, her gaze steady, taking in the temple's imposing silhouette. "Well, here we are," she muttered, half to herself. "A temple of shadows, just what I needed." Veruschka's silent presence at her side was the only answer. There was something unspoken in the air. It felt as if the temple itself was waiting for something, or someone. Nanda stood for a moment longer, absorbing the scene before her. The main doorway loomed ahead, dark and foreboding. She let out a breath and moved forward. "Let's get this over with," she said, stepping into the unknown.